everyone! Whew! Sorry for the repetitive backdrop here. I seem to be filming quite often from this lovely bench, but it is another hot day again. Another day of heat and humidity, and I am not budging from this lovely shady spot. And I've got my 1.5 liter bottle of Evian here, and I will drink that entire bottle this afternoon. I'm Jazzie. Welcome to my channel. I do a personal vlog and I take you along with me on my various adventures. So I'm very pleased that you're joining me today. Today I'd like to talk about being vegan. Becoming vegan was a journey for me that lasted a while and extended over a period of a number of months, perhaps even a year or two, and I was a teenager, so actually my mother was not very happy about me becoming vegan because she really didn't understand it, and she was afraid that I would become malnourished. So it was that old-fashioned type of thinking, and it actually took me a while of doing some research on my own and then really becoming more and more inclined towards vegetarianism. I began first as a vegetarian, and then I just jumped into it and I said, I'm doing this. And I was in high school, I guess, my second to last year or my last year or something like that, and I loved animals my entire life, so it was a very natural progression for me to become vegetarian. I'm really a natural vegetarian, I feel, because growing up, I never really liked the taste of meat, different types of meat. I especially loathed fish and seafood and all those types of things, so I feel it was really natural for me to gravitate towards being a vegetarian. And when I finally leapt in with both feet, and then that was it. I guess I did it overnight. I said, I'm not eating meat. I am not eating anybody who was previously living. So I didn't just drop red meat, as they call it, red meat, for example, like some people do. And everyone's journey, of course, is different, and that's great, and that's absolutely fine. For me, what was most effective and actually easy for me was to just leap into that. Like, that's it. I'm not eating meat. I'm not eating any type of meat from this day onwards. In fact, since that time, I have not had even one bite of meat. And when I did it, I'm a book person, so it's natural for me to read and to do research on my own, and I did educate myself about nutriments and how to get them and how to make sure your body is functioning optimally. And I didn't like the idea of taking 50 million supplements either, so I employed like vitamins, minerals. I took a multi, and I also began supplementing with like calcium, magnesium separately, and also vitamin D, which I really, really swear by to this day. I think it's a wonderful, fantastic supplement with many, many benefits. So I used a liquid vitamin D, and I ate a variety of foods. At the time, I began just jumping into this. And as I said, I became vegetarian first. So I was eating dairy products. Basically, I am not a milk drinker, and I never enjoyed the flavor of milks, but I would use milk in something, like in my tea, for example, of course, or in porridge, whatever. And I never really enjoyed the taste of eggs either. So every so often I would have a scrambled egg, but mostly the eggs I was consuming were in the form of baked goods, or when they were in something, such as something I would bake, like a casserole or whatever that had vegetables in it. Wow, these cicadas are deafening. Now, when I first did this, when I first took the plunge and became vegetarian, my mother actually rushed off to her doctor and discussed it with him and told him about it. And his reply to her was, your daughter will outlive all of us. I think that was to be expected, and my fellow vegans will agree, I'm sure. Being vegetarian just made me feel really, really good about not only doing something for animals, in fact, doing the best thing that you can do for animals, but it made me feel like also I was doing something very, very good for myself as a person and for my body and for my health. And then as I got into it, like years later, I realized also that it's basically a diet for a small planet, as they say, and it's something that is enormously effective as something one can do as an individual to help the current climate crisis, which nowadays is extremely important to me, of course. So obviously that is a whole thing, it's a whole other thing in and of itself, but yet all of this is connected, of course. So it's one of the things that I advocate to do if one is interested in doing something big as an individual to help the climate crisis, because of all that is involved in raising meat. That's an entire industry, and I'm not going to go into that now in this video because this video is limited, and not limited, but it's about my own personal journey through vegetarianism and into veganism and what I have basically experienced as a result of that. But it's part of it. The whole thing is related and it's part of it. So as I said, I became vegetarian first, and then I continued with my research and began to realize that what actually suited me best was to become vegan and do it fully. And at the time, I jumped into this. I became a member of PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I read the book by Peter Singer, Animal Liberation. I was really appalled by what I read in that book, and it goes into details of what animals go through and all of that. And then I read that, and I have not jumped or delved into anything like that since, because I really don't need to remind myself of it. And again, the purpose of this particular video is not to talk about gory details, because I'm a person who is very dedicated to happy content and inspiring people to do good and to do wonderful things for themselves, others, and the planet. So that is really what I'm going to talk about in this video of today. My personal journey perhaps might inspire you. And so as I was going along, becoming vegetarian and then staying vegetarian for a while, I then, as I said, was awakened to going completely vegan. So at the time, that also then included not wearing any leather. And of course I did not wear fur. I never wore fur, and I do not believe in the fur industry. And it's a bit of a difficulty. It's a fine line, because I do not like the trend that was going on a number of years ago where people were spray painting women's fur coats. They were walking along and someone would come up behind and spray paint the fur coat. That was an old thing. I did not agree with any of that, because that is personal property, and that's desecrating someone else's property, which is not for you to do. You may disagree with that person wearing the fur coat, but you do not have the right to attack that person or to do anything to her belongings, his or her belongings. And so that's violent, actually, which is why I disagreed with some people's tactics. Educating people is one thing in a kind way, because that's what we're about. If you're not following a violent lifestyle, meaning you're a vegetarian or a vegan, then don't act out in violence in any other way in your life, because again, that's kind of part of the yoga Siva and nonviolence, ahimsa, not doing violence to yourself or to others. And that's obviously a spiritual practice, and it's part of overall yoga. So yoga in my life, in my experience, and my personal journey of being vegan has a big part too. It plays a big part. The fact that I follow that idea. I follow that spiritual value of nonviolence. I am not here on this earth to do violence to anyone or to myself or to the planet. I'm eating my apple. Obviously, I find fruit to be far more visually appealing than bison burgers. Here's my tasty basil. My current approach to being vegan is more relaxed than it's been in the past. I don't wish to be terribly rigid because I think extreme rigidity creates internal pressure, at least in myself when I'm concerned. So these days, my exception to extreme veganism is whipped cream, which I adore. So I always order my Starbucks with whipped cream. I use nut milks as substitutes for regular milk. Thus, almond or hazelnut milk goes in my tea. And some people have asked me whether I eat honey, which is technically not a vegan food product, but it's a whole food, and it's actually, I feel, quite delicious, and it has so many nutrients in it. Were it not for the fact that it makes my eyes itch, I would eat it. I do love honey. Some vegans eat honey, some do not. And I feel that our marvelous rare white Hawaiian honey is the absolute best. It is so delicious and creamy and marvelous. Oh, well, that is the way it is. I do have some food sensitivities too. I am not a vegan chef by any means. I totally loathe food preparations, so you are not going to see vegan recipes on this channel. I keep it very simple. I have basically smoothies for breakfast, and then for lunch I have various veggies and nuts with olives, figs, dates, that varies. And I like fruit with tea later on. And I also do use a nice pea protein powder. Here's my cute lunch. I think perhaps vegans must taste better because the mosquitoes eat me alive. And I'm wondering if my blood is sweeter. Could be. Very interesting point. There are many, many points to being a vegan. There are many points from ethical reasons and moral reasons and compassion reasons, caring for the planet, religious reasons as well. If you're talking about like Hindus being vegetarian, and a lot of Jews are vegetarian. I am Jewish, and we do have specific rules in the faith that I shouldn't say it's not that you have to be a vegetarian, but there are specific rules of compassion and conduct in the faith, such as when you're talking about Shabbat. You are not supposed to work on Shabbat, and you are also supposed to rest your animals. And of course they're talking about farm animals, animals who work for you, like plow animals, for example. And also there is a prohibition against hunting for sport. And really nobody needs to hunt for meat today either. So you don't find many Jewish hunters and shooters. So that's obviously really, really great. And beyond that though, caring for other creatures, I think, is the number one reason to go vegan. If you're considering going vegan, think about the fantastic impact you as one individual will have on the lives of hundreds of animals, chickens, fish, whatever, whomever. And also think about the impact, the good impact, the positive, powerful impact you will have upon the earth and the planet and saving its resources, because all of those resources that go into the production of raising animals, especially on the factory farms, which are completely barbaric, will be saved the more people who are turning to a plant-based diet today, which is happening. It's really happening at a wonderfully happy, alarmingly, in a good way, rate. A quick rate. There are many people who are turning to plant-based diets today because of the planet crisis and because the awareness of the plight of animals is increasing dramatically, because people have access to finding all of this out. So knowledge is power. I firmly believe knowledge is always power. And when I went vegetarian a while ago, I've been vegetarian for over half my life. And then, as I said, at that point, it was number one, the fact that I adored all creatures, all non-human creatures. And then as I got into it, I found out about the health benefits, which I very much value too, being a dedicated vegan and absolute health nut. And I have been doing this for such a long time and have become so experienced that I see no other way for myself. I would absolutely never go back to eating meat, and there is no taste for meat in me, not one tiny bit in my cells. I never crave it, I never have craved it, and I have never gone back to that. I have never even tried one bite of some type of meat, as I mentioned earlier in the video. So it's happy. It's making me happy to follow this diet, and it's somewhat of a lifestyle as well. I've learned a great deal along the way, and whilst I'm not keen on military rigidity, I'm more relaxed, and I think as you get into it, sometimes you do relax a bit. Like I said, whipped cream. But it's been very satisfying. It's been fulfilling. It's part of my personality, and it's part of who I am, and I really, really am glad that I did this and had the courage to do it back when I did it. It's not my way to be preachy, so I do not go about preaching and telling people to become vegan or vegetarian. That is up to you. That is your life, and you need to do what feels good for you and what feels right for you, and do what you are comfortable with. So if you are interested in doing this, though, there are many ways of doing it. You could just ease into it gradually over time, or you could just leap right in. But I would love to encourage you to do this. If you are interested, please do try this, and then think about all the animals' lives you will be saving. I will definitely be cheering you on. Wow, look who I found on my car today when I went to Starbucks. He was just strolling along in my car. Isn't he awesome? And now for the question of the day. You'll remember in the last video I asked what causes thunder. Did anyone know the answer to that? This is one of those things, one of those weather phenomena that is really explained, of course, by physics, because this is a physical... Excuse me, I have some gnats bothering me. Yes, it is created by lightning. Thunder actually is very, very strongly linked to lightning. Were it not for lightning, we would not have thunder. So the air surrounding a lightning bolt, which obviously shoots down from the heavens to the ground, but actually it shoots down and bounces back up again, and you don't really see that part of it. But surrounding that lightning bolt is a column of air that is heated to extremes, which actually then produces a resonating tube of a partial vacuum. And that column vibrates. And that vibration is what creates that tremendous crack. Of course, because light travels much faster than sound, we see the bolt of lightning first. You know, you can actually see lightning from afar, and then you see the lightning and the entire sky seems to just become illuminated, but you don't hear the thunder quite yet. And that is obviously because of the sound, the speed of sound is slower than the speed of light. Don't you just love physics? And your next question of the day is, do grasshoppers have ears? If you can hear that chattering, every time it seems that I'm filming, there is a squirrel somewhere getting pissed off. And listen to him. I mean, it's as though they're somehow not chastising, but, you know, they're chattering and they're scolding, actually. And I'm like, are they scolding me? I mean, there are two of them going at it now in this tree over here, and it's just a riot. Now things seem to have quietened a bit. However, of course, now we have this fantastic chorus of cicadas again, and I cannot say enough how cool I think they are. They're just a backdrop. Wherever there are trees, wherever I go where there are trees, they are just sounding off, and since there are so many more of them this year, it's really, really fantastic. I just love them. And they're just happy. They're a happy sound. And then, like now, they lull, and then as one, they all build once more. It's as though there's a conductor, a cicada, orchestra conductor, and they're performing a symphony. They are just fabulous. Now that was an aside. We had a bit of a break from talking about being a vegan. But really, that, of course, was the subject of this video. And I believe I don't really have any further points to make about my own journey becoming vegan and staying vegan at this time. I welcome comments and questions, however, from my listeners. And if you have any, very loud, if you have any questions, please feel free to write them below, and we can have a bit of a discourse, a bit of a back and forth chatting about this. I will be happy to answer your questions. And again, if you are interested yourself in taking the plunge into vegetarianism or veganism, I hate these isms, you know. It's not defining. It is not all-encompassing. It does not make you who you are. It is a part of you. It's not only a diet, though. It is mostly, it's a lifestyle that includes and is mostly comprised of the diet, of course, but then it includes other things, and how far you wish to go into it is up to you. This is not something that is dictated by anyone. You can go as little or as far into it as you wish. It's really, really a wonderful idea, I think, nowadays, especially to adopt a mostly plant-based diet. Perhaps you decide that you'd like to eat vegetarian for 6 days of the week, and then the 7th day you have whatever is your treat. If you like bison burgers, steaks, some sort of seafood, whatever it may be, feel free to do that. Because any amount of getting away from eating meat, I feel, is of tremendous benefit, not only to the animals, obviously, but to the planet. And I believe also to yourself, to your own physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, because along with the idea of non-violence, and as I mentioned before, that's connected with yoga. As a person who does yoga religiously every day, I have a very strong yoga practice, which I love and has been completely life-altering and has changed my life tremendously positively. Along with that, though, the vegetarianism and veganism just fell into place because they're connected. And along with that, though, I noticed that it's probably the yoga a bit, it's probably being vegan a bit. Those two things have made me more compassionate still than I was before. Compassionate and obviously unwilling to do any harm to myself or others. But it's opened my mind and it's created a way of seeing things, sometimes with a third eye as well. I don't just mean physically seeing, but it's created a way in which I relate to the outside world, the larger outside world. That has been positively altered. And I'm very, very happy for that, because I feel that it's expanded my experiences and it's expanded the way I view things and the way I experience them as a sensitive person too. It has simply increased general overall awareness. I do believe that being a vegan, it distances you from the violence that is associated with producing the animal. You know, I hate to say these words because it sounds as though I'm accusing non-vegans. I am not doing that. Again, this is up to you and what works for you. I am simply letting you know what my own journey has been like up to this point. And overall, as I have stated before, it's very happy, very positive. And there's nothing that I think is negative about it, in my case. So that means that it's for me. It's really, really meant for me. And I was basically destined to wind up as a vegetarian and then a vegan. Here's today's lunch. It's pretty much similar to the lunch I showed you earlier in the video, but as you can see, I have different vegetables and then my protein powder's kind of in under here. I have olives and I have organic nuts and cherry tomato, and these leaves are basil. That's my favorite herb. And then the little round things are obviously dried peas. I get these wonderful organic dried peas with no salt added or anything, and they're so delicious. I'm sitting here at Starbucks with my Starbucks beverage next to me and my veggies, which I just showed you, having my lunch. And then after my lunch, I have this dark chocolate. This is my cute little container with hedgehogs on it, in which is my dark chocolate. Oh, I think it's so cute. Every day I have some lovely quality organic dark chocolate. And obviously dark chocolate can be very easily vegan. You can purchase many different kinds of dark chocolate with no milk and no cream and no junk. And I really do adore chocolate, and I'm sure it has health benefits. So that is, I generally have my chocolate at lunchtime. So there is my lovely little lunch meal. Perhaps it gave you a few ideas. It's simple, as I said before. It does not require much preparation. Oh, and there's a date in there as well with my nuts and my vegetables and all of that. I also have a lovely big fat organic medjool date. I love figs and dates, and I eat them fairly frequently. So I try to have a variety of different fruits and vegetables. Lovely geese at Starbucks. It's lovely to sit here in the breeze. There's a lovely cooling breeze going. It's hot and humid today. The breeze does help. I am coming to the end of this video, and I was so pleased to share with you my own personal journey with a vegan diet and lifestyle. So in closing, let me say that, again, initially my reason for going vegetarian, then vegan, was due to my love of animals. I've always had an uncanny rapport with all non-human beings, and I've experienced interactions with animals that were nearly unbelievable, such as encounters with wild animals who have even approached me, and bonding with skittish race horses, for example. Animals bring great joy to me. And once I got into the vegan diet and lifestyle, obviously I found out so much more about it and then did my experimentation. So again, many reasons for going vegan, because sometimes it has a religious basis, or vegetarian, you know, Buddhism, Hinduism, and a lot of people who are Jewish are vegetarian or vegan. But I really feel for myself that it goes far beyond that. And my experience with animals makes me feel a certain way about them and regard them with great love and respect. My favorite animals are hedgehogs and cats. I draw a lot of hedgehogs. I am a total cat person. And in addition, I'm very close with horses, being an equestrian and having such a wonderful bond with these magnificent, just gorgeous and powerful and spiritually deep animals that are horses. What is your favorite animal? Let me know in the comments below. And if you are inspired to try being a vegan or a vegetarian, please let me know how that goes for you. Let me know what you learned from it and how you feel doing it, and if you're interested in continuing it. I would be very happy to know that I inspired someone to try a plant-based diet. Thanks so much for joining me today. Please give this video a like and subscribe to my channel so we can have more fun, exciting videos to look forward to in the near future. Remember the question of the day for next video. Do grasshoppers have ears?